Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for coming to our next session. And thank you, Steve Schaefer, for giving out such great advice on how to navigate a pivot. We're now moving on to our second session, Launching in a Pandemic, a conversation among entrepreneurs who've launched businesses in 2020. Here, you'll learn how entrepreneurs navigated this new environment as they've adapted to the pandemic reality, with changes in supply chains, consumer habits, manufacturing, and working from home. On the panel today, we have Cecilia Lassiter, founder and CEO at Peck Boards, Kate Herling, CEO and founder at Tandem, Clark Nolan, founder and CEO at Golden Ratio, and Albert Swantner, board member at Naturally Austin and CTO at Mobile Tech RX. Take it away.
Thank you so much. My name is Albert Swantner. I'm a board member at Naturally Austin, and I've been really involved in the CPG community. And I'm so excited to be here with the three of you to talk about, what you guys are doing launching in a pandemic. I'm so excited to ask you the tough questions. And for everyone listening, if you have questions, please put them in the chat and we will just jump in and answer them as soon as we can. But what I'd first love to do is have you guys just go around the board and kind of introduce yourself and tell us about your business. Clark, do you want to start?
Happy to. Hey, everybody. My name is Clark Nolan. I'm the founder and caffeinated executive officer of Golden Ratio, and we invented a new type of coffee called gold coffee that is golden color. Check it out. 5 times less acidic than regular coffee. Look at that. Albert's got the goods. More packaging. And it's smooth in its flavor. It tastes like tea. It doesn't have a bitterness like regular coffee. And so, our customers are saying, oh, I love this because I might get stomach problems if I drink regular coffee, and then I get a headache if I don't drink coffee. And this is something you can drink to feel good. So on the mission to start the day the golden way, and we just launched our company about 99 days ago in June. So brand new.
Cool. Kate?
Hi, I'm Kate. I'm the founder of Drink Tandem. We're essentially a new take on the water enhancer. So if you're thinking Crystal Light, we have a box. Or Crystal Light or any of those like water enhancers that you stir into your water. A lot of them are filled with like junk, artificial sweeteners and artificial flavors, as well as like electrolytes. And this is essentially just like pure flavor, essentially replacing your daily sparkling water intake and half the footprint. So you can find us at drinktandem.com.
Awesome. Cece?
Hey, I'm Cece Lassiter. I'm the founder of Peck Boards. We are a cheese and charcuterie board direct-to-consumer company. So we ship a DIY kit, kind of think like HelloFresh, but for a charcuterie board where everything's pre-portioned to help you make a perfectly balanced charcuterie board at your house. Awesome. So launching during the pandemic was sort of perfect timing for us while everyone's home all the time.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'd like to start, right? So I don't know if you guys are aware, but there's a global pandemic. There's a bunch of unrest in the streets, right? So like, I'd love to just ask you, like, why did you launch in a pandemic, right? Like, there surely must be some reason to kind of delay launch or just wait until things kind of settle down. Like, what are you doing here? So Cece, do you want to start? Like, why did you decide to launch?
Yeah, I think the pandemic is why I launched. So this is an idea I've had for a long time or have been thinking about. And I threw up some ads in June and then launched exactly a month ago. So the response was huge. People are home a lot more. They want a special treat. They're looking for more direct-to-consumer deliveries straight to their door because they're not going out and buying things. They're not having date nights out. They're not having kind of special occasion experiences. So we really wanted to create something that is an experience for folks that they can get directly sent to their house. So the pandemic was kind of perfect timing. Funny enough, I mean, I just checked Google Trends, when I was first thinking about this as the pandemic started, and charcuterie boards and cheese boards started rocketing up. So the timing was just right for us specifically.
Awesome. Kate, why did you do this?
Well, we were supposed to launch like a year ago. So it was just, we had the opportunity and the pandemic's eventually going to end. So it felt like now is the time. I was always going to launch Tandem and nothing is ever perfect. But if anything, like it's kind of been a blessing in that, like, the fact that I'm even able to do this is like I am very fortunate, and I'm not worried about my health, but like in general is like my husband travels a lot. I just had a baby, so it was like if I'm gonna launch a startup with him at home, like I don't know, it just felt like the stars weren't exactly aligned, but I couldn't really like if I kept delaying it, I was never gonna launch. So.
Sure. So Clark, I know you've been working on this idea for a long time. So, I know why you launched in the pandemic, but talk a little bit about that. You're on mute though.
Cool. Well, the pandemic thing was not strategic. I did not plan that one, but it hasn't been terrible for our business. I mean, it's definitely caused a lot of friction and pain, and we had to rechange some plans. But fortunately, we sell coffee on the internet, and it's in a format that people can make at home. And so, in the pandemic, people have not drank less coffee. They've actually matched or increased their coffee consumption, and people are not looking to go to the grocery store to buy things, especially earlier in the pandemic. That was a big fear, and so that was another thing that kind of made me realize, okay, I've been working on this for a long time. I did not plan for this pandemic. Is this going to shelve our plans? And then when I put that together, that wait, people still need coffee. People are bored, stuck at home, wanting to try new things, and they don't want to go to the grocery store, then this actually might be the perfect time to launch. So we decided to march forward and do it anyways.
That's awesome. Kind of going off of that, I'd like to ask you guys about, how are you viewing customer acquisition differently today? And how are you building a community around your brands, right? So I feel like in the past, it was a lot of events and kind of doing tastings and like being out and about. But now that that's totally dead and it's all online, has that shifted how you think about building a community? Clark, tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's a term that I heard from a guy in New York City named Emmett Shine, who's somebody I look up to a lot in our space. He's behind Warby Parker and Recess and Casper, Neuralink, Hims and Hers. He's done a lot of direct consumer brands that have done very well. And he actually calls it direct with consumer. He doesn't call it direct to consumer. And that really made sense with me. And so, given that we're not doing any trial offline or anything at the moment because of the pandemic, the only thing we have are these virtual connections that we're creating with our customers. And so we've invested a little more in branding. So if you buy one of our products, we've really decided to put more into that direct with consumer experience, what you're going to get. And so we've got some lovely packaging. Thank you, Cultivator and Wonderkind, our branding agencies, for putting that together and doing the Lord's work doing it. But additionally, we've invested in some like good branding on the boxes. Some people receive it as something special. And then we've really staged and reverse engineered our customer experience, where they're going to receive emails or texts and follow up kind of accordingly on their customer journey, as well as I'm now hopping on the phone with our top customers and having actually building relationships via Zoom with our top 80 or so customers who are on subscription and paying us over $50 a month on reorder, and some understanding who these people are. And so it's fun because at the same time, it's really good product market fit insight. It's also something that builds community in a virtual way. And we've done a few things like on Instagram and like IGTVs or stuff that maybe is like a good rallying tool. I don't know if it's like, built like just some insanely passionate, committed community off just doing like one IGTV video, but we're definitely doing those kind of things. We don't plan to stop because I think over time, those really do harness good community, but it's not like we've just done one thing like that and like, oh, we have community and it's an amazing community and we all love each other. Like, it takes a lot more work than that.
So you talked about driving trial. Like how are you driving trial when you can't interact with anyone in real life, right? Are you kind of just saying, you're working on your price point and saying, hey, just buy a box? Or how are you saying, hey, give it a try to see if you like it?
Yeah, good question. So we have a 30-day guarantee on our products, which everybody should do that if you sell something on the internet, because like less than a fraction of 1% ever come back and want their money. It's actually this morning I had a note on our customer support. Somebody was like, hi, I'm writing to take you up on the 30-day guarantee. And I was like, I feel so bad for this person. Like, who spends the time to like return $20 items on the internet? So like do a 30-day guarantee, because it's only going to help you, because very few people actually come back. And I think we've had like 7 people do that in our company's life. So yeah, like that helps. And then additionally, lots of, retargeting, and, we're definitely in the digital marketing game. So that helps kind of get the sale, because that is our core challenge. And so I guess I'll answer your question saying like, we haven't figured it out yet. You got to buy it to try it. And, we're getting people to purchase, and fortunately we're paying less on advertising than they're paying us, on on their orders. But, we're working a lot on that, trying to figure out like maybe a smaller sample size that we could do to like drop the price point to get more trial. But yeah, that's actually been a struggle of ours. I wouldn't say we've nailed it, but hopefully with good enough branding and a accurate, pitch to the right person, we're still getting, the sale. It's just not able to get it frictionless.
It's only been 2 months. I think you got some time here. Cece, I'd love to ask you the same question. So you're probably not as concerned about trial, right? Because it's more about sampling and like trying something new, which is kind of by nature what your product does. But like, how are you getting customers and building a community around what you're doing?
Well, I think we're really lucky in that charcuterie boards are highly Instagrammable. Like they're very social, they're beautiful, and people want to share them. They want to show them off. And so we kind of have a naturally shareable business that's very friendly on social. So we're finding that people almost, I would say 75% of customers who receive a box share us on, share their creation in some format on Instagram or Facebook. So that's naturally helping us a lot. I mean, I think the other interesting thing about charcuterie boards is that they're really highly giftable. And I would say the majority of our sales are to customers who are gifting it to someone else, which leads to more sales because people are re-gifting or using the same gift idea to send to other folks. So we haven't had to work that hard. And again, I will say the same thing as Clark. I haven't figured it out. This is month 1, and we're still actually, unlike Clark and Kate, I didn't have to invest a whole ton in getting a major production run out the door. So the product is still being tweaked, and we're still kind of like futzing with everything to perfect the actual product and to perfect kind of the operational abilities of kind of the company and also just the customer experience. So we haven't had to really push for building a community yet, though I have to say I'm thankful in that it's already naturally kind of building itself. We've also, I love Clark's idea of talking to top customers. One of our very best customers was a early customer survey recipient. So somebody we reached out to. We were doing a lot of just guerrilla marketing. So with local Facebook groups, specifically food Facebook groups, and reaching out to folks who respond to our Facebook ads or social ads. And one of our top customers who's sent several boxes now is somebody who was just answered our customer survey early on, and we had a real conversation with her and developed a relationship with her, and she's going gangbusters. So, I think that's going to be part of our strategy going forward, is really developing relationships with some of these top customers too.
Yeah. Talking of relationships, Kate, so when, I know when we were doing Sway Water together, like trial was a huge part, right? We spent Saturdays at the farmer's market for forever. So like now that you're launching Tandem, like how are you thinking about building community and getting new customers now that you're kind of direct to consumer online?
Yeah, so that's kind of what, that was the challenge of the pandemic, because launching a food business, you're like, I need people to try it before they buy it. So I totally agree with Clark, like the 30-day guarantee. I was like, let's just make this as seamless and de-risk this purchase process as possible. Like, let's make it so that people feel like they're not really taking a risk. And like I said, as Clark's seen, like not a ton of people are taking the time to return it. They might not reorder, but that's a different problem. So kind of de-risking the whole purchase process, and then also working with influencers, I would say, on like Instagram has been a big way for us to like build like social proof and an extension of community. We did go through like a lot of pains of creating a really specialized experience. So if you're getting one of our influencer boxes, you're getting a branded Yeti, you're getting a box of Tandem, and just trying to make it like a special, like even though you're stuck at home, just trying to add a little bit of like whimsy and delight to your like everyday if you're going to try a new brand, as well as just kind of creating our own like voice with digital marketing. So I didn't really think when we launched Tandem, my whole like strategy was to do a ton of events, because that's kind of what I was good at. And like, I kind of had a pulse on that. Launching in offices was really like a core like tenant. So I was like, reverting into entirely digital marketing, like definitely is being a challenge. And I found that like email, like communication and like just the text messaging, like relationship is huge. So staying in constant touch. We also launched on Amazon, which I didn't think we were initially going to do, but people are on there to buy. And it's kind of interesting. Like you don't need as much of it. Like we are building a community, but that is going to be more of that's more of a journey, where it's like Amazon is like people are on there to purchase. So we kind of just like decided to do that route while also building our online community. And Amazon does such a good job of also de-risking that whole purchase process, that even though we have our strong like core followers, but like those people aren't going to be what makes the business. It's just going to be like the repeat buyers, and Amazon's like the best platform to be on right now.
No, I think you bring up a good point, right? I don't know if your house is like mine, but like the best part of the day is when a package comes in and you're like, oh my God, something new, like to get me. So like, yeah, I love the packaging you guys have, and it's so delightful, and it's beautiful. So I'd like to kind of talk about your plans, right? So I know you guys are business people, you have these amazing plans and like direction, but the pandemic and the uncertain nature of how long it's going to last, I'd love to hear about how, you built this great plan. What has changed on it? And has it been difficult or easy to kind of adapt to the new conditions that we're having? Clark, so again, I know you had a really solid plan laid out, and you had a lot of strategies that you've had to change. Can you talk about some of the changes you had to make?
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to the trial question, we were going to do a lot of food service. Actually, I'll show you the bags here. So we invented gold coffee, and we thought it'd be cool to have some bold gold bags to put in coffee shops so people could see that there's this golden option. You could up your cup. And so anyways, we had these awesome bags made. Oh, you can see that. It's so hard to figure this out. There we go. So these will be printed soon, so we can start putting these actually in coffee shops to drive trial. Which is something we've already done. If you go to the Buzz Mill on Riverside, they actually have Golden Ratio right now, and we did a trial there and saw it was successful. It was like the third best selling drink on the menu. I was planning to copy and paste that to a bunch of coffee shops, just like a very profitable kind of sustainable marketing plan to drive trial, get liquid on lips, spread the golden gospel, all that fun stuff. And the pandemic changed that entirely, because the idea of getting your product in one place where a lot of people gather around and drink it from one source is exactly what's not in demand in pandemic times. But pre-pandemic times, it was genius. And so we actually developed kegs, and we were going to put in like offices. We got Bumble in on it, Outdoor Voices. A few other companies said yes to putting the kegs on tap. We did tastings. So I was stoked about all that. And the pandemic comes in. It's like, sorry, dog, those plans aren't going to happen. So I've got 40 branded kegs sitting in Buda right now. It's a Golden Ratio on them. So anyway, like that was a thing we had to change, and I was planning to raise about $500,000. This is all we needed to get to kind of profitability, and never need to raise again kind of thing. And since it's changed our plans now, raising $1 million because I'm executing a direct consumer marketing plan and business plan that just costs more money to build a sizable customer base to get to that profitability, which fortunately we're tracking well on, and we've raised a good chunk of that money already, and it's just coming in more and more every day at this point now that we're seeing like the 40% month over month growth. But anyways, like that's a big part of how it changed. We basically decided just to do direct to consumer, which is great, and ultimately like that builds a more valuable business, it's higher quality revenue, but it's a more expensive business plan. And the challenge with the pandemic is it became a lot harder to raise capital when the markets went down. And so like at the same day, I realized I needed to change our plan. Investors were less likely to invest, and I needed to raise twice the money. So that really put me between a rock and a hard place. And fortunately, we kind of battled through it. And now the markets are more stabilized-ish, and investment money is coming in. But it was definitely like a big blank moment whenever like the ceiling kind of fell down on everything.
Would you say that it's delayed your plans? Like you're still going to try that strategy, or has it really made you rethink the strategy entirely?
Yeah, great question. No, so it's just changed the order of events, and so we'll still do the food service stuff, and actually, hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have some of those rolling in Austin, and at least get like 20 accounts set up selling gold coffee and having the ability to enjoy it there. But it's definitely caused us to just focus on the e-com business first, and so I don't know, it's more fun. Like we've got over 3,000 customers all over the United States, and like our top customer lives in New York. And so it's fun to like meet these people virtually and build those relationships. But the bummer is like I wanted to be going door to door in Austin and getting excited about this with people, and it's like, oh well, this is kind of what's the word? Anticlimactic. Now I'm just looking at a screen all day. Exactly what I didn't want to do. But here we are.
This is a great example of that, right? All of us in person would be way more fun. Kate, I know you had a really similar story, right? So like you were thinking about launching in offices, and that was a major part of your launch strategy. So that probably is now like the worst launch strategy ever. So talk to me about how like you pivoted from that, and if you think you're going to do that in the future or probably not.
Yeah. It's TBD, I think, as far as launching in offices. I know like Austin has so many big like office complexes. Like, as you know, like Indeed was probably the only reason like Sway stayed alive for as long as it did. And there's people want to go back to work. I just don't really know what that looks like. I know a lot of people are delaying return to the office like until next summer. So I think we have some time to like noodle on that and see how like the e-com strategy is going. But what was the first part of your question? Is just like why, like, I guess I remember, but essentially like we decided to like, part of the pandemic was like, we were supposed to launch in January, and then our co-packer had a few delays. So we were going to launch in April, and then due to the pandemic, and then our co-packer being in California, and as a brand new product, we had to push it back to end of June. So it was like all of these delays. So I feel like we had been experiencing the pandemic for long enough to realize that like the offices were not going to fly. Like, and, gave us a little more time to retool and like understand that our launch strategy had to change. But I mean, ideally, I'd love to be back in offices. It's a great captive audience. It's a great way to drive trial. It's a really like fun. I feel like Google and like a lot of these big offices, like Capital Factory, like they are really prioritizing like their employees' health, and as a better for you product, like we're really aligned with those values. So it's a great way to find like consumers that understand and appreciate like what we're trying to accomplish with Tandem. So like I would love to be back in offices. I just don't know what that looks like. I mean, the sooner a vaccine comes, this could be a totally different story in 2021. So
that's awesome. Cece, I know I did a little different question for you, but what I think was remarkable about you and Kate is you guys are moms, right? And like you're new moms. So not only did you, launch a new business, you're new moms, and like everything's going to hell. So like, I'd love to hear from both of you, just like, how are you doing it, right? Like, I'm sure a lot of people here are moms or parents, and like school's online, babysitters are weird, like pod families. Like, I want to hear how you're doing it. And how you're able to focus on your business.
It's not that easy. I have an 18-month-old. So, on the one hand, I think I also have a husband who travels or previously traveled a lot. So actually the pandemic has allowed us to have a little bit more flexibility in our home with childcare. He's home and can watch her, but it takes just like an incredible amount of scheduling throughout the day to say like, okay, do you have a really important call at this time? Or can you like watch her while you're on this like super not important call? And it's just a lot of like negotiation. And I think, Kate can probably attest to this too. I think when you're the startup person in the coupling, your business is like a little bit of a lower priority than the person who's making the money that supports the family. And moms too, we tend to take a little bit more of the brunt of the childcare. So I'm full-time parenting first with startup work kind of just like anywhere it fits in, which means that when I'm doing local Austin deliveries, my toddler's in the back seat riding along with me, and she's there when I'm doing photo shoots, and she's like a part of the business, which is actually kind of fun. It's like, I think if we had launched at a different time when I had daycare and she could be away a lot more often, she wouldn't be as big of a part of the business as she is right now. She's sort of the mascot, and she's, every picture of of cheese board that I have, I also have 5 pictures of her stealing all the cheeses off the top of it, right? So like, it's kind of fun in a way. And that was one of my goals in starting this business, was finding something that I love, but that I can also grow with a family, and like something that my kiddo can be excited about and into. And she is obsessed with cheese boards. So it worked out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but it's like not easy. I'm sure Kate will say.
I totally understand. I mean, that resonates with me. I remember when I launched Sway and I had my new son, like I felt like the clinking bottles that we had constantly was just like a soothing melody for him. Like he would just be like, oh, bottles are clinking, I'm at home and safe. And like, I totally get that. Kate, so like same question to you, like you had a baby in the pandemic, like what the?
Yeah.
How are you doing this?
So honestly, I almost think it was a little easier. Like Cece, my husband was traveling 3 weeks out of a month. So, and he had 2 weeks of paternity leave and was going to go back to traveling. So he has been home since March 1st, which is, I don't know if we've ever spent this much time together ever, but it's pretty fun to like have a new member of the family around. And the fact is, like, he's been like, I don't really have any of this like gatekeeper, like caretaker. Like he knows her just as well as I do. Like we've spent the equal amount of time together. His job does like end up, just because it is a little more structured and he has a team he has to manage, where I have a little more flexibility. I do take a little more of the childcare. So I do think up until like September, I probably wasn't as productive just because I didn't have childcare, but I decided to bite the bullet, get a babysitter to help me during the week that I do. Like we have a little nanny share with another family. And that's kind of been a lifesaver. Like it's almost like I'm like, whoa, I have like so much time, but you do have to be hyper scheduled. Like I only have 9 to 5. I have like 7 to 10, like when she goes down, but it's like the time you have with that baby is like, she knows when you're on the phone and you're not paying attention to her. Like it is you can't really multitask. So, yeah, it's been a challenge, but at the same time, like I am fortunate to have Doug is a willing and enthusiastic co-parent. So it's, I'm fortunate in that aspect.
If we were in person, I'm sure you'd be kicking me right now, but I challenge everyone. There's a special, so Kate, a few months ago, wrote into the New York Times, like, the freaking most hilarious, it was like a Dear Abby or something.
Yeah.
My God. It is so funny. I challenge everyone to try to find it. It's anonymous, so you'll never tie it to her, but like, oh my God, it is so funny.
To be fair, I was like 2 weeks postpartum and I was having a bit of a hormonal meltdown, but I planned out a little bit. So.
It was awesome. It was about business, being a mom, the pandemic. So everyone try to find it. Clark, so like, I mean, you're an amazing entrepreneur. You're inspirational for me. Like the way you've launched your brand is like, holy, like it has grown so fast, so amazing. What I want to ask you specifically is like, fundraising is hard, right? Like in good times, fundraising is hard. I know I have tried and failed miserably at fundraising. So like, how in the world are you in a pandemic when things are going to hell and people are tightening their wallets, like raising so much money? And then how are you thinking about managing your cash going forward? You know, knowing that you are in a more expensive realm than you were at before, you know, how are you doing all those things?
Well, first off, I promise it's easier than having a child during all of this. So kudos to Cece and Kate. I often say I feel like a single father right now because we launched our businesses like 99 days ago. And I basically got this like 99-year-old baby who, you know, it's cute and everybody wants to take a picture with it. But the truth is this thing is just like 5 seconds away from like throwing up on you or needing its diaper changed. And everybody wants the picture, but nobody wants to change the diaper. And, you know, so I'm founder and CEO, you know, I'm the one who gets to stay up all night and, you know, hold the thing and figure it out. So, and I can't imagine doing this while also literally having a baby who's doing that. And so y'all are the real heroes. And when it comes to fundraising, I don't know, I mean, my philosophy is you got to put the fun in fundraising, and people are just starved for something new and some life and creativity. And so, another mundane, another just following up is not going to go very far, because who the heck wants more of that? And so, that's a lot of our philosophy. Like, we're about to, close out a big VC round, and we've got like, 5 and we're in diligence with, and I'm about to surprise them all with a bunch of big heads next week. They're all going to get big heads that have like gold teeth and crazy stuff going on. And so like things like that, like they just work, because people like never get funny stuff like that. And like, why the heck not? So anyways, like that's like a lot of it. But, but before that, I mean, that's all sugar, and it's all kind of like icing on top. You do need to have the meat and potatoes, which is the fundamentals of the business. And so, why I might come across as just like a fun-loving guy, which is real. And it's been a long time, doing diligence on this business and making sure our gross margins are good, our supply chain is good, our, positioning is good, and our branding is good. So that way, like, we can just have fun, and it helps feed the machine. And it's not just all like Firefest or sugar or something that's just like, oh, it's all hype and it looks cool, but like the truth is there's nothing behind the scene. Like, I spent, 18 months actually like building the vehicle by hand before I raised $1. So like, I didn't raise money till like I'd already like developed the product, created the brand, recruited the team, already like had a month's payroll on my own credit cards, like my bank account 0, 401k 0. Like, I like did everything I had to do before I thought it was ready to bring an outside dollar in. And so that's like another thing with fundraising. It's like, I kind of view it as like all of like investor money is gasoline, and like I needed to build the car, and then like this is just gas to help drive the car I already built from like point A to point B. And so like whenever that's the pitch, and then you're able to do it in an exciting, fun, enthusiastic way, that's kind of my philosophy of fundraising. And so far so good. You've got I don't know if we disclose the numbers, of whatever, hundreds of thousands of dollars wired in, millions in soft commitments, and it's like, okay, we're this thing's happening, so it's fun.
Yeah. I mean, so like, I feel like you've been developing relationships forever with these people, right? So is that really the case, or is it people that you just met, or like, how do you curate these relationships for so long?
Yeah, I mean, I just got a really big soft commitment right before this from a investment group in Boston that I met on Monday, and like they just move fast, and they cut rather large checks, and for us it's like we're the like smallest check, but to me I'm like, this is a huge check. So I don't know, I mean, it just depends. Like, I've spent a lot of time, like I was in New York City for the past 9 days, and then I'm in Southern California now. I think with fundraising, it's not too different from fishing. Like, if you want to catch fish, go fish where the fish are. And so like, we've raised a lot of money from angels in Austin, and I have some incredible Brett Hurt, Gary Keller, John Berkowitz, like some great entrepreneurs in Austin have like all backed us. Nick and Justin Mayers, some people maybe on the call. I don't know. These are great people, all the way around. But that's been helpful to kind of get it kickstarted. But then using that capital to then prove like what we're doing works, and then the small dollars used well then attract bigger dollars, which now we're in this like phase of kind of graduating from 10, 25, 50K checks to like $500,000 checks. So but it was sequential. These things didn't happen overnight. And it's definitely been a struggle. And when the pandemic hit, I mean, I had 350,000 in soft commitments with people that I knew pretty well, and like had kind of like soft and like building those relationships up for a while. The pandemic hits, I realized I need to raise $1 million. And then when I called the money out of the 350 soft committed, I had actually 35K only get wired, because all the other angels were like, oh, hey, I'm gonna like take 30, 60 days, pause, see what's happening. I'm like, well, damn it, I have 70 grand in expenses this month, and I already like used all my savings. So I remortgaged my house, and I like did what I had to do. And like, so things like that, like I just had to do it, and it worked. And, thank God, knock on wood, I mean, the verdict's still out, we're not profitable or anything yet, but so I mean, there's things like that have made it really challenging on the fundraising front. And a lot of the folks I'd been like warming up for a while are actually not like our largest check writers. And we've got some of them, but a lot of these things, like, your best friend is maybe not your best investor. Like, you should really go shop these things out, and kind of what I've done. And I've been playing the kind of investment game now for a while, and really not focusing on Austin. I'm mainly focusing on New York City and on the West Coast. And like, it's just easy. Like, I went in New York last weekend, I picked up 50 grand, like basically on the ground without even trying. It's like, this one guy's like, this is really cool. Just literally pulled out his checkbook and wrote me a check. I was like, what? Like, this doesn't happen in Austin every day. So I don't know. I mean, that also diversifying and making sure I'm going to like go fish where the fish are. It's been helpful for fundraising. And then as far as raising it, I mean, have a purpose to spend it. And then the VCs or investors that invest, they're investing, so you will spend it. So you just kind of like you plan the work and then you work the plan. So we're definitely spending the money we're raising. It's not like I'm just sitting on it or anything because we've got a lot to do.
No, I feel like, when I try to fundraise before, if you don't have your business fundamentals in order, kind of like you said, like you're not going to be successful. You can bang on the door all day long. You can be the best person. You can be fun. It's just not going to work. But on the other side, like when you have your CAC right, when everything is correct and it's obvious that you just need money to grow, then the money just floods in, right? And I think that's where you at, which is super, super exciting.
Cool. Yeah, 6 figures a week at this point. It's like, wait, where is this coming from? Like, this is not something that happened at all.
Please take this money.
Yes. To get 70 grand in March, but now it's like, okay, finally.
So thank you guys. I want to go through some questions really quick. So the first question here is, I think for Kate, you had mentioned this. How, as a startup, do you evaluate working with social media influencers? How do you measure rate of investment? And then what data should you ask influencers to help make the decision to know if they're worth it? So I know you've worked on this a long time with micro influencers and large influencers. So like, what is your influencer strategy and how do you measure if it's working?
Yeah, so that is an interesting question. It's a little hard to say the least. We're kind of doing the micro influencer strategy, people with around 5,000 to 10,000 followers, just because we find that they're a little hungrier, they're a little more affordable, open to like receiving new brands. We aren't really paying for, we're just sending product and gifting at this point. We're not really like paying for placement just because as a startup, we don't really have that. Built into our marketing costs. So it's kind of been a little bit of like a hit or miss, like influencers that I thought were really going to kill it and were really enthusiastic didn't really seem to, like, they showed off our product and we got a little bit of engagement, but it is somewhat hard to measure. But I felt like when we stopped doing it, we had like less organic traffic. And it was just kind of like, as we're a new brand, so we'll probably see a little I would say like the end of this year to see like if brand recognition goes up and like if it's like a sustained web traffic. And as far as like Instagram likes and comments, like that's a big way to track influence. But yeah, the ROI is a little dicey, but I do think it's in general worth it. It just depends. If you're driving purchase, I would say maybe stay away and just like stick to Amazon. But if you're trying to it's kind of like events is how I see it. It's like the equivalent where it's like, was that event worth it? Maybe not, but maybe in aggregate, it did like raise your profile. More people are exposed to your brand, and it'll drive trial. But what's the adage about like how many people need to see your advertisement before they click on it? Like
something kind of like 3 touch points or something.
Yeah, it's like a lot of touch points. 300. Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
I know, right? So I think it's just generally like the ROI is like a little hard to calculate, but we found that like I stopped because I was a little like discouraged by it in August, and then I just saw like our web traffic like go off a cliff. So it just depends what your goals are, I think.
I think influencers are weird, right? It's kind of a chicken and egg. Like they want to see that you're an established brand and they're not going to tie themselves to some like whack job, right? So like you've got to kind of like build up your own Instagram game and like start small and kind of have some traffic so that the real influencers will be like, okay, like I feel comfortable saying that this product is not going to kill me, right? So that's really tough. Influencer strategy is tough. Cece, I think the next question would be good for you. So, Kate and Clark, I think, have a supply chains pretty tight, but do you have any advice for D2C startups that are launching and realize that they're going to need to increase their price due to shipping and other logistics? So I feel like your ingredient costs are probably changing all the time, right? So how do you look at pricing? And if you have to do a price increase, like how do you do that without pissing everyone off?
It's tricky. And this is like what I spend a lot of my day on all day long, because it's the other hard thing right now, particularly is cold shipping supply chain is really tight. It's blowing up and there's not enough supply. So one other thing that's kind of tricky during the pandemic is there's a huge lead time for all of these cold shipping supplies. So the ice packs and the insulation, it takes forever to get. And then on top of that, shipping costs are going up, and the shipping to your location is twice the cost of the actual product you're receiving. For me, the like wholesale cost. So it's super tricky. But I think what we're trying to, or what we're learning or seeing, is that customers are at least becoming more and more aware, I think, because of the pandemic, of the increasing shipping costs. And I guess this is also related to all of the snafu around post office right now. People are paying more attention to what's going on in the shipping space. And I think consumers are getting a little bit more comfortable with paying more. And I think that's a benefit of a pandemic, is that it changes consumer habits in a pretty dramatic way. And I think you see it, my old world was in online grocery. So you see it significantly in online grocery, where customers who would never purchase online in the past, especially for food, are becoming more and more comfortable with it. And I think the same is kind of happening with shipping. People who weren't comfortable paying for shipping in the past are kind of starting to understand that it's a real cost that the business is taking on, and they're becoming more comfortable with spending it. That said, shipping is kind of baked into my cost, so it's we'll see. I think it's something I'm struggling with too. It's tricky to figure out what that ideal price point is, but I think you just have to accept that if you're delivering straight to consumers' doors, it's going to be more expensive, and people seem to understand that.
And I think that, right, you've got to have a margin target in your mind. And if you're not in that margin target, and if you think it's going to be long lasting, it might be time for a price increase. But if you think it's going to be a temporary disruption, or you're comfortable with the margin flux, like, you might just want to leave it for price consistency. We've only got a couple minutes, so I have two more questions. This next one's for Clark. Your packaging is beautiful. So, like, talk about making things beautiful without spending a fortune. I don't know if you spent a fortune or not. I'm sure that you did, but like, okay, great, even better. Then it's the perfect question. So what is some advice for startups that want to have better looking packaging but don't have the capital for, like Helm or something?
Yeah. It's the same of fundraising and recruiting. Do new things that are exciting. Get excited about it yourself, get other people excited about it, and paint a big vision and invite people to the crew. So for us, it's the Gold Brew crew. So with the branding agency, I was still, again, because I didn't want to raise outside capital until I had got the thing put together. And, I had a couple 10 grand in my 401k to start with. So I did, it was scrappy. It wasn't like there was much. And so the group in Denver who invented our packaging, they're called Cultivator Ads. I owe them a lot. Fortunately not monetarily, but every other way. Basically they're like a 6-figure branding agency. They do New Belgium Fat Tire, a bunch of stuff for Chipotle, way out of my price range. We shopped like 10 different firms, and they were the most expensive one. And I talked to the owner just like I was talking to an investor, and I said, if you want to have your name in the history books with creating a new category of coffee, try this out and give me a call. And so he tried it out, and he called me like a week later and was like, all right, kid, you screwed up my morning cup. It hasn't tasted the same for a week. We do one fun project a year as an agency. Congrats, you're it. How much did you have budgeted for branding? And I was like, $4,000. He goes, great. Pay us $2,000 up front, $2,000 on the back end, and we're good to go. So they gave us a proposal before that was $100K, and we ended up paying them $4,000. And it was just because we invited them into something new and exciting. So you don't need to spend a lot of money on branding. Just do things you're excited about and invite other people for the journey. People are bored.
That's awesome. All right, we've got 1 minute. So like 30 seconds each or less. Like, Cece, what was the most satisfying moment for you launching your new business?
Oh, your first stranger order, definitely.
Awesome.
Friends and family are great, but.
Kate, first most satisfying moment.
Cece took it. The first stranger order. It's like euphoric when you're like, how did you find this and why are you buying it? I'm so pumped.
Clark.
Sleeping the next day.
Nice. That's exciting. There's always another day.
I love sleep.
Three of you, thank you so much. And thank you everyone listening. Please contact any of us anytime to ask any questions or follow-ups that we didn't get to or things you didn't feel comfortable asking. Elisa, up to you now. You're on mute.
It was going to happen once, right? It was going to happen once.
That's life now.
Thank y'all so much. Good seeing you, albeit virtually. I know a couple of you. And thank you for sharing all of your learnings from launching during a pandemic. Really proud of you guys with the progress that you're making. Right now, we're going to transition into networking. To network with other attendees, you can press the networking icon on the left-hand side of your screen. You will be randomly paired with another attendee, and you'll have 5 minutes to chat with each other. If you'd like to continue your conversation after the session, click the connect button at the bottom of your screen, and you will both receive an email from Hopin that will connect you to one another later. We will be back at 2:45 to introduce our third session today. See you in a little bit.